Well, welcome everybody to our monthly live event here on LinkedIn. This is part of our series called Paths to Pleasant Places. And you will find us here once a month on a Thursday and usually at the same time and usually towards the end of the month. So as long as you're following all of us, you'll get to know the topic of the next event and when we're going live. So today's topic and our first guest, which we're really excited about, is on Enneagram typing and linking it to the positive intelligence saboteurs. And so you're going to hear this terminology of positive intelligence, and that is because all four of us are positive intelligence coaches. That's one of the tools we have in our toolbox. So thanks for joining us. We're going to be here for the next 30 to 45 minutes and really excited to introduce Julie to our listeners and those that are watching us. So Julie Roick, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Francesca and Kiri, for having me here. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, I'm so looking forward to this conversation. And I know we have a few questions for you. And then we also have a wonderful slide presentation just to help you wrap your head around understanding some of the things that are involved in the Enneagram along with the PQ program. So Julie has been a personal trainer for over 20 years, and she is a life and spiritual coach, an author, and a mother of 5. She is a board certified coach, PQ intelligence coach, and an Enneagram coach. And she is ready to take you on a journey with her coaching to reclaim your life, whether it is physically, emotionally, or spiritually. And Julie is also the author of The Little Guide to Finding Our Lost Souls: How We Lose Our True Selves in This False Identity We Create, and how we can reclaim our souls and live a purposeful life of intention. So lots to dig into in this time together. Really excited to be here with my co-hosts for the show. So Francesca and Kiri and myself met through the Positive Intelligence coaching community. And we decided that we needed to create something a little more than our mastermind that we were using to support each other. And so we decided, well, let's go live on LinkedIn. Let's give this a try. And if I'm correct, Kiri, are we now on number 6, I believe?
Absolutely, number 6.
Yeah, so who thought with Francesca when we started out and we were like, oh, let's just do number 1 and see how this goes. And then let's do number 2 and see how this goes. And here we are at number 6. So we are from different corners of the globe, and I'll let everybody, when they introduce themselves, tell you where they are calling in from. And we integrate not only the positive intelligence toolbox, but other certifications into our individual coaching framework. So for myself, Carol Clegg, I am your business mentor and accountability coach, a coach for coaches, guiding women coaches to just take action with ease and flow. And I offer a 12-week Flourish and Grow program and help you learn tools to master your mindset. Over to you, Kiri.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Carol. And Carol is also the brains behind us. So she is a technical guru. So my name is McRae. I am calling from Aotearoa, New Zealand. You'll see my homemade jersey that I'm wearing because we're in the middle of winter. I am passionate about empowering Indigenous women to build their impact and confidence in male-dominated industry. And I utilize the professional coaching certification from the International Coaching Federation, as well as positive intelligence. Over to you, Francesca.
Thank you so much, Kiri, for that beautiful introduction. I am Francesca Odwosa. I'm a certified business coach and also got recently certified as a PQ coach as well. I thank you. Thanks for your support, for getting me there. I live in Vancouver in Canada, and in my practice as a coach, I support nonprofit businesses, family-owned businesses, and women-led businesses to find clarity, resilience, and authenticity in meeting their goals and intentions.
Wonderful. Well, it is so special to be here with all 3 of you, making 4 of us today on the stage. And before I'm going to pull up, Julie has this wonderful presentation to share with you. Kiri and Francesca and myself thought we'd just give you an overview of how positive intelligence defines the saboteurs and the roles that they play in our lives, just so this can give you a grounding and an understanding before we move into the Enneagram. So, Kerry, I'll let you just give your take on the saboteurs and what you might share with your clients, or how you would define them in a nutshell.
Yeah, so we are all completely normal when we feel stress, anger, shame, guilt, and disappointment. But if we dwell on that, if we ruminate in that, that actually impacts our wellness, effectiveness, and performance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so true. It's not an area that we want to stay in. And with the saboteur assessment, you complete this complimentary online test, and it rates you with certain saboteurs that come up stronger than others in your results. But as Julie and we were sharing earlier, and we'll get into this a little more, is that those, although you might have some dominant ones at the top, I think they all come into play at some time in our different situations bring up. But I think one of the things I want to, for people that have taken the assessment, is to realize that there are also strengths underlying on the saboteurs. And that is absolutely something that can be explored. So they've been exploited, and stress and anxiety tend to bring them to the forefront. And so that's why we want to learn tools that we can diminish the loudness of those saboteurs. I don't know, Francesca, what are your thoughts?
First of all, the saboteurs gives us, the insight that we as human beings, we are a bag of emotions. Emotions can be positive, and emotions can also be negative. And the saboteur assessment that we all have taken also provides us with tools to understand that the emotions, they are like the cloud, it comes and it goes. And the question is, how do we want to present ourselves? Like a cloud that comes and goes, or do we want to have a measure of control over how we react or respond to situations and circumstances around us? And it's interesting to hear from Julie as we dive deep into this conversation today to see how we can tie that into our personality and use it to our strategic advantage.
Absolutely. Love that visual of the cloud and where do we want to be. So I know that there are many tools out there that can help you understand your personality, what triggers you, the behaviors. And many of us are on a mission for personal growth work. But today we're going to be exploring the two with the focus on the Enneagram. So with that, Julie, I'd love to pull up your slide presentation if that works for you. And let's see how this goes, because this is the first time we're doing this. So we're coming to it with ease and flow. And Julie, it's over to you.
Thank you, Carol. So I just have a brief introduction about what the Enneagram is. One of my favorite parts of the Enneagram is that it's the only personality system that includes psychology with spirituality. And my coaching practice is a lot to do with spirituality, and finding the Enneagram has just been a lifesaver, not just because of my journey, but then it allows other people to really explore the depths of their personality and why they're here, what God-given talents, for lack of a better word, they have, and how we show up in the world, and how we can become more of our true selves and live from our essence. So as you can read, the Enneagram teaches us how we make decisions, handle stress, interact with others, understand the why behind our actions. This is my favorite part of the Enneagram, seeing the unseen. And the Enneagram allows us to see the shadow work that a lot of times we don't see. A lot of people don't even know what shadow work is, but depending on your type, we have a minimum of 3 shadows. And when you discover your type and learn what your shadow work is, it is absolutely life-changing. Our patterns are seen in the Enneagram. This is where the saboteur show up. We call them something different in the Enneagram world. And then by going through all of these and really through self-discovery, we can reclaim our gifts so we can live on purpose and serve and show up for one another in the world. So I think I can go to the next slide, right? Yes. Okay. So what does the Enneagram have to do with PQ intelligence? Everything. So I love Shirzad's system. I think what he has done to make it accessible, it's kind of Enneagram light, for lack of a better way of putting it. He doesn't use the word Enneagram, but he absolutely has used the Enneagram to let people understand we have saboteurs. What they're called in the Enneagram world is the neural fixations. And each type has a neural fixation based on our gifts. So as Shirzad explains, the saboteurs are our gifts out of control. So a 9, who's a beautiful peacemaker and a bridge builder, when that gets out of control, becomes the avoider. When the 1 who's principled and mission-oriented is too fixated on that, they become the stickler. They become judgmental and righteous. And we can go all the way around the Enneagram, but I won't. But maybe that will unfold as we continue to chat about this. So I just love sharing that slide because it's such a great visual of each type has a saboteur or neural fixation. So this is something that all PQ coaches have access to. And if you are a PQ coach out there, you've seen this on the back of your dashboard. This is the slide that explains the SAGE strengths and the saboteur abuse. And then on the far left, I put the types down. Shirzad does give the Enneagram credit in his book in a moment's, on a page, and just mentions the Enneagram quickly. But he does not come out overtly and say this is how he devised it, although he does talk about a few other ways, other modalities he used to devise the PQ program. So on the far left are all the types. Obviously, he does it in alphabetical order. He's not going to put them in numeric order because then it really wouldn't make sense. But on this next slide, I show you how the SAGE qualities are exemplified in the language, in the label, and how the neural fixation or saboteur are perfectly described by the way Shirzad came up with the names for them. So you can see the reformer who I had talked about, which is the person who's very principled, becomes the stickler, and the helper who really just wants to make the world a better place through connection and helping people can be overdone and is now the pleaser shows up, and so on and so forth, the achiever, hyperachiever, and all the way down. So what's fascinating about the saboteurs is our accomplice saboteurs. And if anyone's taken the saboteur assessment, they can see, where they all line up. Shirzad is right. We do have all of them at any given time in our lives, but in particular, we probably have 5 that sort of rule our world based on our Enneagram type. So many times people come to me for a typing session and I ask them for their saboteur results. And especially if somebody is not familiar with PQ, at least 3 of their saboteurs will show up type dependent. Other saboteurs can show up from conditioning. We've chatted about this briefly, that as women, we can become pleasers because of conditioning, not because of type. We can become avoiders, again, because of conditioning, not because of type. I've also seen lots of women who show up as hyperachievers because their family wants them to achieve, and that's really not their type. So I take the saboteur assessment results and I pair them with the ready assessment results, and together through a typing session, we come up with your type. Ladies, do you have any questions about this slide before I move on?
Kiri, anything that you can think of that jumps to mind?
All I was musing over was the depth of the Enneagrams and the understanding of the linkages between the different things that get in our way to be our best.
So is that a question, or am I?
I think it's an observation.
It's my current observation.
Yeah.
Do you have any comments about that to make it into a question?
Well, the Enneagram is deep. I actually discovered it after I discovered PQ. I'm a type 5. Type 5's on the bottom of the Enneagram for a reason. Deeply introverted. The 4 is also. And when I discovered that that Shirzad had used the Enneagram, I wanted the backstory of PQ, and then I dove into Enneagram, and it's much more nuanced than Saboteurs. There is way more to it. But again, I think he's done such a beautiful job of simplifying what the Enneagram is to offer the key components, your sage qualities and your fixations, because in corporate America, people need to know what these are and be able to have a common language, which he's given through PQ. I just, like I said, as a 5, wanted to go a little deeper and learn more. So that's where my slant comes from. I wanted to know more. So as the ladies know, this is what I offer. This is right now why I'm on the planet. Again, as a 5, my shadow work is, and I discovered this through the Enneagram, obviously, I hoard my resources. I don't really like to go outside of my little office and learn, and I need to do this to share my knowledge with the world. So my mission right now is to type people for free. And I ask them to take the Ready assessment. I give them a code for that. And I have them take the PQ Saboteur assessment. And we meet and we talk about the results and usually come up with a type or 2. And then I ask for people to follow up and say, hey, did I nail it? Did we nail it? Did we not? What can we talk about? Because I've been searching for a personal growth tool for 20 years. And this is the only one that has rocked my world like none others. Mm-hmm. And in particular, that shadow work, I wouldn't be here right now if I hadn't studied the Enneagram, and that seeing the unseen, knowing that I like to hoard my resources and I need to not do that and give my gifts to the world, my knowledge through this Enneagram work has really changed my life.
And Julie, I want to make sure that people know where to find you. So I'm going to be putting that in the comments underneath the live, but obviously, and we haven't finished by any means. We've still got lots of questions and things to explore together. But you're here on LinkedIn, so they can reach out and connect you. They can private message you. And then your website. Tell us your website where they will find you.
It's just my name, julieroick.com. And the homepage offers that offering, that free typing session. It's pretty self-explanatory. So yeah.
Wonderful. And we've all taken Julie up on that opportunity, and it's an incredibly generous offer because it is in depth. And with that, Francesca, I would love to, we were chatting earlier before we went live, and Francesca, you had an observation about some of your clients taking the Saboteur assessment and the depth of the Enneagram. So I'd love for you to ask Julie that question, and let's explore that again.
Oh yeah, Julie, we've talked about this, but I'm happy to bring it up again. I'm really curious to know why some clients, come up with some feedback suggesting that the assessment results from PQ is often inconsistent. Like a client would do the testing like 4 different times and they would get 4 different outcomes versus the Enneagram, which is sort of pretty consistent. Like, I personally took the Enneagram test 2 years ago. It was a 9, and I recently took it. It was a 9, but with PQ, it changes, from time to time. So I'm just wondering, why do you think this happens?
I would actually like to share the other slides. Carol, if you could do that, great. And I'm just going to move here. So I think the reason this happens, Francesca, is because when at any time we can have up to 5, obviously, or more saboteurs, and there are 9, not including the judge. So yes, we can have an Enneagram type. You are born with your Enneagram type. And with that comes your dominant neural fixation or saboteur. So if you're a 1 and the stickler is showing up all the time, and that sort of runs out of power, you're going to possibly go to a restless or a victim saboteur. And or your wings, which are the 9 and the 2 for the 1. So they could show up as any one of those 5. And on any given day, when you take that saboteur test, they're sort of jockeying for first place, second place, third place. And okay, again, we had talked a little bit about conditioned saboteurs, like the 9 and the 2 for women, the hyperachiever. I mean, I mainly work with women. So those are the ones that can come from conditioning. And so I feel like that the short answer to that question is we have our dominant saboteur, and then those other accomplice ones will show up on any given day, just depending on the circumstances of our life or the chapters of our lives. So I wouldn't say that the saboteur assessment is less reliable than those other assessments. I would just say that it changes, and that's because we change.
So I really like what you said about that we change. So I'm curious, could you describe either yourself or someone that you worked with and how working with you has brought about change?
So I would say I'll go back to the example I used on myself, because I'm also doing an intensive, I'm Enneagram University certified, but I'm also doing an intensive course with Russ Hudson. And he is an author of the Enneagram, a student of Gurdjieff, who really brought the modern Enneagram to the world. And I am learning something about myself every single week. And starting with that, seeing the unseen, seeing my shadows, not just for my 5-ness, but let me show you the arrows for the 5.
Thank you, Julie. I'm really wanting to feel something or hear something from the heart, because you're providing a lot of information. What impact has it had on you? I
am more awake. I see the world differently now. I'm more compassionate with myself and with other people, because I understand that we are coming from different places, more so than I did a few years back. I see when the saboteur wants to show up, and I have a different approach to them. Before, I thought it was just who I am. And yes, of course, that is who I am. And I was coaching with a person, and she said, well, you keep calling yourself a 5. Well, that is true. I mean, I am a 5. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to work on things and be a different number. I'm just going to be a better version of my 5-ness. So that's what happens with everybody who discovers their type and does the real work behind the Enneagram.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing. That really did touch my heart on how much you're now loving yourself more. And in loving yourself, how much more you've been able to grow.
And I have to just add in there, Julie, when you were sharing that, and that was a beautiful share, and I know very little about this is your area of expertise, but that there are levels in the Enneagram, and you and I discussed this with me being a 7, that there is the healthy, and so the numbers come down, and so you've got, when you're in your 7 and you're healthy, these are the things you do. When you're middle of the road, these are the things you do, and then you're unhealthy. And I think a lot of people that might be listening, to this are aware of, we look at ways to improve ourselves. We look at ways to improve our lives. And Julie and I discussed that I kind of sat in at middle of the road, probably, and kind of said, well, okay, I'll claim that area of number 4. And by the way, the 7 and the restless walk together. What happens when you fall down into that unhealthy? what does one do to get oneself out of the
Well,
unhealthy links?
let's just say average, because unhealthy, let me just briefly mention them. Let me briefly talk about those. There are 9 levels. Okay. So for the 7, their gifts: playful and spontaneous, versatile, quick-minded, entertaining. Okay. That's where your levels 1, 2, and 3, those gifts are really showing up. You're deeply present in the world, and you are, because of your presence, you're able to show your gifts. The personality nuances that have kind of layered on the onion. So if you've got these gifts and then personality, experiences, beliefs, families, all that gets kind of layered on, the Enneagram starts kind of peeling off these layers so that you can shine those gifts. Living at levels 1, 2, and 3, I don't know anybody who's a 1, and even my master teachers will not claim they are 1s, because that's living in, presence all the time. Levels 2 and 3, deeply present. Levels 4, 5, and 6 is what we call average behaviors. So 1 through 3 is healthy. Average behaviors are 4, 5, and 6. Unhealthy is 7, 8, and 9. And I don't even put 7, 8, and 9 up here because I'm not qualified to help you if you're in those unhealthy levels.
Right.
So the average behaviors are where we show personality more. And that, when I'm saying personality, I'm sort of using it in a negative context, that it's the stories we've told ourselves that have pulled us away from being really able to show up with presence and with our gifts. So those average behaviors that you see, keep moving to greener grass, these are stories that the 7 tells themselves that they think is true, similar to the saboteur stories. You know how we were taught that the saboteur is lying to you.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
The saboteur is lying. That's what's happening in this average behaviors in levels 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah. I think that it's quite a gift that, with yourself now being a positive intelligence certified coach and having the Enneagram, because when I dug into this a little bit, it would be the tools that I would use from positive intelligence to help me with my restless, to stay focused, to try and not be chasing after the greener grass on the other side. So that would be bringing in our PQ reps and then our sage powers. So I just think from a coaching point of view, and I think we could probably all relate to this, is that, bringing in that awareness that there is a way to change this. There's an area to work on. And then is that not what we're all searching for, and searching for something that just resonates with us? So I love, Julie, that you are so passionate about this and that have stepped into it, and being able to have the two in tandem, because I think they're a beautiful complement, to each other. So I know that we're getting too close to the end of our time, but I'd love to know if there's any more in these slides that would benefit our folk that are watching this, either on the replay or with us here live. Are there any other slides that we should? I know, Kiri, I think you came out as a type 7. How about the 9? I think for Francesca.
Yes. So you're the type I want to be. You're the type that I tested. I actually tested as a 9 because I really wanted to be a 9. After listening to a lot of books and more self-reflection, I realized I'm not a 9, I'm a 5. But as you can probably speak to these gifts, I put LOD, levels of development. This is when you really can just step into those gifts and your true potential of being a bridge builder and a peacemaker. And I have 5 children. Our youngest is a 9. And I think it's because he's the youngest, he kind of watched the craziness and just said, okay, I'm going to be chill. And he is, but the detriment of being chill is being the avoider. Right. And I don't know your saboteur assessment. We haven't had a chance to meet, but, and I showed this on the first slide or the first presentation, that these are all of the accomplice saboteurs of the 9. And those wings will show up depending on how much your personality is leaning into one wing or the other. So I haven't seen your saboteur assessment, but Francesca, can you speak to how those are playing out in your world, or are they playing out in your world?
there's some sort of, creepy accuracy with with what I'm seeing. My accomplished saboteurs actually are pretty much what you have reflected here. And yeah, it shows up in my personality, in my interactions from time to time. So it's great to see how so deeply connected my Enneagram typing is with my saboteur personality.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is wonderful. So I have to say thank you, Julie, just for coming to share and just put the light on it, because, as we've discussed, there's a lot of depth, there's a lot of information in this. And I feel that each time I've met and spoken with you, I now feel I've moved a little further along with a better understanding. So I hope those that are listening and that are curious to know more, please do reach out to Julie. She's offering this very generous, extensive typing. And then she spends a follow-up, an hour-long call with you afterwards to explore exactly what this means. So that is a very generous, wonderful offer. And I hope that some of our listeners will take her up on that. So before we head out, I just want to say thanks everybody who is here and listening. And we'd love to have you join us next month. Our topic in a very broad sense is going to be self-care. And it's going to have some wings to it. Now that I've got Julie's language, we'll put some wings on it. And that's going to be time for self, and being alone versus being lonely, and selfish or self-care. Where does the word selfish, or does it fit into that? So, but on the other note of taking your complimentary saboteur assessment, which is provided by Positive Intelligence, it's not something that we have created. It's got a lot of research and a lot of background behind it, and it is available from each of us. So all four of us are able to help you take that assessment, and then we would be happy to book a discovery call and walk you through those results as well. So with Julie, you're going to get a double. So with Francesca, the best place to find you, Francesca, is?
On LinkedIn.
Right here on LinkedIn. So look for Francesca. You will see her in the conversation that we're having here. You can just click on her name and you can request to connect with her and send her a DM. And Kiri, how about yourself?
I'm on LinkedIn too.
All right. So just click on Kiri's profile and you will find her there. And then, yes, I am on LinkedIn, and you'll also find me on my website, carolclegg.com. So until the next time, thanks everybody for being here. And Julie, thank you.
Thank you. It was fun.